I buried my best friend's dog tags in the Iraqi sand the day before my flight home, whispering promises to a ghost while mortar fire echoed like God's own hangover. Dad knew the date. Hell, I'd etched it into every email from that godforsaken Dust Bowl, but he ghosted my homecoming barbecue, leaving Mom to smile through gritted teeth as aunts force-fed me potato salad laced with pity. That night, buzzed on cheap Bud Light and Betrayal, I hot-wired his prized '72 Chevy Impala from the garage and torched it in the desert, flames licking the stars like middle fingers to every lie he'd ever told. The smoke hadn't even cleared from the Impala's carcass when the first panic call hit my burner phone at 3 a.m., Mom's voice cracking like dry lightning. "Cora, it's your father. He's gone. Vanished like he was never here." I gripped the motel room's threadbare quilt, the acrid tang of gasoline still on my skin, and laughed, a jagged, hollow bark that scared even me.
Gone?
After ditching my hero's welcome? Part of me wanted to let the bastard rot in whatever hole he'd crawled into, but the soldier in me, the one who'd dragged her squad through Fallujah's meat grinder, couldn't ignore the hook in her gut. This wasn't abandonment. This was the unraveling of the biggest con job our family had ever swallowed. I'd always known Dad was a shadow puppet master, pulling strings from the dim corners of our Reno trailer park life. Growing up, he was the king of smoke and mirrors hustles, fencing knockoff Rolexes at flea markets, running bookie ops from the back of dive bars, always one step ahead of the cops with that shark grin charm that made you forgive the empty fridge. Mom called it providing, but I saw the rot early. The way he'd vanish for weeks, returning with fat envelopes and excuses thinner than communion wafers. By 16, I was enlisting to escape the cycle, trading his chaos for Uncle Sam's boot camp grind. Iraq sharpened me into something lethal, a combat medic who'd stitched arteries under sniper fire, lost too many brothers to IEDs that turned Humvees into confetti. I came home with a Purple Heart pinned to my chest like a scarlet letter, expecting Dad to finally show up straight. Instead, he bailed, texting some bullshit about a business trip to Atlantic City. Bullshit. The panic calls multiplied like roaches after that first one. Aunt Rita, chain-smoking through her sobs. "Cora, honey, the cops are here. Your daddy's truck turned up stripped in a chop shop down by the strip." Then Uncle Ray, half-drunk at dawn. "Girl, there's blood on the seats. Not much, but enough to make the 6 o'clock news."
Blood?
My pulse jackhammered, visions of Fallujah flashbacks bleeding into Reno's alkali flats. I hadn't meant to burn the Impala with him inside. God, no. But the what-ifs clawed at me as I threw on my civvies and hit the road south, the desert wind howling accusations through the rental's cracked window. Reno to Vegas is a 3-hour blur of sagebrush and sin, but my mind replayed the betrayal on loop. Dad skipping my homecoming wasn't just rude. It was the cherry on a shit Sunday of lifelong letdowns. Remember my 8th grade graduation? He promised front row seats, then blew town for a sure-thing poker game in Tahoe, leaving me to walk the stage with Mom's Kleenex damp hand in mine. High school prom? Same deal. Off chasing a horse racing scam, while I slow danced with the punch bowl. Enlistment day? He showed, all right, but only to borrow bus fare for his last big score. I'd swallowed it all, chalking it up to his flawed genius, the man who taught me to hotwire a lock and spot a mark from 50 yards. But Iraq changed the math. I wasn't his little sidekick anymore. I was a killer with a kill count that'd make Satan blush. And he couldn't even fake pride for one backyard grill out? By the time I rolled into Vegas, the Strip was a garish fever dream. Slot machines chiming like deranged wind chimes, tourists in feather boas oblivious to the underbelly grinding beneath. The motel off Fremont Street reeked of desperation, faded Elvis posters peeling from water-stained walls, hookers negotiating in the parking lot under sodium lamps that buzzed like angry hornets. I paid cash for a week's stay, no ID, and started digging. First stop, the Chop Shop, a corrugated tin graveyard on the outskirts where lowriders rusted next to gutted Cadillacs. The grease monkey running the joint, tattooed knuckles, gold tooth glinting like a warning, squinted at my Purple Heart photo ID and grunted, "Yeah, saw the Impala. Your old man dropped it off himself, twitchy as a meth head." Said it was hot, needed it vanished quick.
Dad alive then.
And scheming. My fists clenched, nails biting crescents into palms. Twitchy how? I pressed, sliding a crumpled 20 across the scarred workbench. He pocketed it without a blink. Eyes darting like he owed the devil. Muttered something about a score gone south. Big casino heist, names like the Widowmaker and Silk. Then he peeled out in a rental, headed east toward Boulder City. The Widowmaker. That name slithered through my memory like black ice. Dad's old crew from the 90s, back when he ran with a syndicate of card sharps and safecrackers who preyed on Tahoe's high rollers. Silk was the enforcer, a ghost with a switchblade smile who'd allegedly put 3 rivals in the Hoover Dam spillway. If Dad was tangled with them again, this wasn't a skip, it was suicide by syndicate. I hit the casinos next, flashing Dad's faded mug from my wallet, grainy Polaroid from my boot camp send-off, him in that threadbare flannel, arms slung around me like we were invincible. The Bellagio's security goons stonewalled me. No dice, sweetheart. Privacy laws. But over at the dingy off-strip joints, where the air hung heavy with stale cigars and regret, the pit bosses loosened lips after a round of free well whiskey. Yeah, Tommy Harlan. One rasped, Dad's real name tasting like ash on my tongue. He was in last week, sweating like a nun in a whorehouse. Lost 20 large at blackjack, then vanished mid-hand. Word is, he stiffed Silk's boys on a fence job, stole their cut from a armored truck gig up in Ely.
Stiff them.
My stomach twisted. Dad, the eternal grifter, finally grifting the wrong wolves.
But why now?
Why bail on me? The pieces gnawed at me as I nursed a flat cores in a corner booth, the jukebox crooning Johnny Cash's Folsom Prison Blues like a eulogy. That's when the second wave of panic calls lit up my phone. Mom, hysterical now. Cora, the feds are involved. Something about witness protection. Papers in a safe with your name on them. My name? Bullshit. I'd burned bridges with the army for going rogue on a medevac run in Mosul, but nothing federal. Or was there? I drove to Boulder City blind, rage-fueled. The rental's tires screaming on blacktop as thunderheads bruised the horizon. Dad's emergency bolt hole was a sagging Airstream trailer parked in a ghost town RV lot, the kind where meth labs bloom like desert wildflowers. The door hung ajar, kicked in and inside. Chaos. Drawers yanked, mattress slashed, his go-bag gone. But not before I'd rifled it 100 times in my head. On the Formica counter, amid shattered beer bottles, lay a single Polaroid. Me in Iraq, helmet off, blood-streaked face grinning at the camera after patching a Marine's femoral. Scrawled on the back in Dad's chicken scratch. For Cora, don't trust the suits. The debt's on me. Love, Pop.
Debt.
The word detonated something primal. Flashback to '03, me 16 and stupid, forging Mom's signature on Dad's casino markers to bail him out of $100,000 hole with the mob. He'd sworn it was the last time, handed me a wad of cash for college, then vanished for 6 months. I took the heat, skipped prom, worked doubles at the diner, told Mom it was scholarship trouble. But the suits? Feds? My enlistment cleared my juvie record, or so I thought. Had Dad dragged me into his web deeper than I knew? The trailer yielded more ghosts. A burner phone with 1 missed call from Silk, a crumpled Nevada Power receipt, and, buried under the sink, a manila envelope sealed with red wax. Inside, grainy photos of me in uniform, timestamps from my Reno layover, a deposition transcript, Dad's voice transcribed. I took the fall for the Ely heist in '98, armed truck, $500,000 in unmarked bills. But it wasn't me who shot the guard. That was Silk, covering his ass. Cora don't know, but she signed for the getaway car as a kid. She's clean. I'll testify if you bury her part. Holy fuck. The guard. Ely '98, the family road trip Dad dragged us on, me 14 and thrilled to help Pop with the van. I'd hot-wired that piece of shit Ford for him, giggling like it was a game, while he and his crew vanished into the night. The news said a security guard died in the crossfire, pinned on a patsy who ate a bullet in county lockup. Dad walked, plea deal, no time served. But me? My prints on the wheel, my forged plates. He'd buried it, lied to my face for years, let me enlist with that shadow hanging. And now, spooked by Silk's comeback tour, he was flipping, ready to rat for immunity, and dragging my name through the Fed's meat grinder to sweeten the pot. Rage boiled over, hot and holy. I'd suffered for his sins, nights in the foxhole, stitching guts while his debts echoed in my nightmares. Iraq? That was my penance for his ghosts. Every bullet dodged a cosmic IOU. And he skipped my homecoming to play Judas?
No. Fuck that.
I pocketed the envelope, torched the trailer with a Zippo and a prayer, and peeled out toward the dam, where Silk's crew was rumored to hole up in the shadow of Hoover's concrete behemoth. The drive was a descent into hell's antechamber, Boulder City's cookie-cutter suburbs giving way to the dam's monolithic gray, turbines humming like the devil's heartbeat. I ditched the rental in a tourist lot, blending into the gawkers snapping selfies, with the Colorado River churning below. Silk's operation was legend, a floating casino barge moored in the backwaters, Lady Luck's shadow, where high-stakes poker masked money laundering for cartels north of the border. Getting aboard meant playing the mark, so I hit a thrift store for a slinky red number that screamed desperate divorcee, heels that pinched like accusations, and a clutch hiding my Beretta. Army surplus, untraceable. Boarding was a gauntlet. Bouncers with necks like tree trunks patting down co-eds, metal detectors beeping like lie detectors. Mine sang when I flashed a smile and a fake Tiffany bracelet. Gift from the ex-boys. Let a girl win it back. They waved me through, leering, and I melted into the smoke-hazed salon, roulette wheels whirring like chainsaws. The air reeked of bourbon and bad decisions, whales in Armani dropping chips like confetti at a funeral. I spotted Silk mid-deck, mid-40s, silk shirt unbuttoned to navel, gold chains nesting like serpents, dealing 3-card money to a table of suckers. His eyes, cold obsidian, flicked up as I sidled close, nursing a watered-down martini. New blood, he purred, voice like gravel in a blender.
Seat.
Ladies' luck tonight. I played coy, folding on a bluff, letting him win 100 before whispering. Heard Tommy Harlan singing to the feds. You boys lose a canary. His laugh was a blade. Harlan? That rat's been dodging debts since diapers. What's it to you, Red? His daughter's no fan of IOUs. I slid the Polaroid across the bays, me in fatigues, time-stamped. He left this trail. Thinks you're the devil he owes. Silk's face cracked, just a hair, recognition dawning like a storm front. Cora. The little spark plug from Ely. Shit, you grew teeth. He signaled the pit, and suddenly the room tilted. Goons flanking, the barge's engines rumbling to life. Your pops holed up in the engine room, spilling guts to an agent. Feds think they're slick, bugged the trailer. But I knew he'd flip. Always does. Betrayal's knife twisted deeper. Dad wasn't running from Silk. He was baiting him. Using me as the lure? The barge cut loose, slicing through black water toward the dam spillway, where the river roared like Judgment Day. They marched me below decks, Silk's hand like a vice on my elbow, past humming generators to a steel bulkhead. Inside, Dad, zip-tied to a chair, face a roadmap of bruises, Fed wire glinting on his lapel. Agent Hale, square-jawed G-man straight from a Clancy novel, paced with a Glock drawn, eyes widening at me. Harlan Jr.? What the— Shut it, suit, Silk snarled, his crew bursting in with Uzis barking. Chaos erupted, Hale diving for cover, Dad thrashing like a pinned marlin, me wrenching free to tackle a goon into the bulkhead. Sparks flew from ricochets, the barge bucking as it neared the dam's vortex. I snatched Hale's Glock, popping 2 slugs into Silk's knee. Non-lethal, but he howled like a banshee, then cut Dad loose mid-firefight. Run, kid, Dad gasped, blood bubbling from a shoulder graze. But run where? The engine room flooded with cordite smoke, the river's thunder-drowning screams. Hale bought it covering our exit, a burst to the chest dropping him like a felled oak. Silk lunged, switchblade flashing, not for me, but Dad. You ratted first, Tommy. Ely was yours, the guard's blood on your hands. Liar. The deposition burned in my mind. But Dad's eyes, guilty, flickering, said otherwise. As we burst onto the deck, barge shuddering against the dam's apron, tourists on the overlook scattering like pigeons, I shoved him toward the life raft. Whadet pop. The guard. Did you pull the trigger? He froze, rain lashing his face, the chopper thump of incoming feds vibrating the air.
Cora.
It was me. Silk set it up, but I fired. You signed for the van, to keep you clean, my gift. I took the plea, buried it.
But now.
They're coming for us both. The twist gutted me worse than any shrapnel. I'd suffered a rock's inferno for a murderer's secret, his murder. Not Silk's. And Hale? Dead because Dad played hero too late. As SWAT ropes dropped from Black Hawks, Silk's crew surrendering in a hail of zip ties, I faced the choice. Drag him aboard the raft, testify to his flip, let the courts carve us both, me complicit, him the monster.
Or.
I kicked the raft loose. Dad's screams swallowed by the spillway's maw as it plummeted into the churning abyss. For the guard, I muttered, turning to the feds with hands up. For Ely. They hauled me in, cuffs cold as betrayal, but the headlines split the nation. War hero saves the day, or covers for killer dad. Talk shows erupted, pundits calling me vigilante saint or patricidal snake. Mom visited in lockup, eyes hollow. He loved you, Cora. We all did.
Loved.
Past tense. 6 months later, plea bargain down to community service stitching vets at the VA, I walk the Reno flats at dusk, the Impala's ghost in every sunset flame. Silk rots in Supermax, spilling syndicate beans for a shot at daylight.
Me?
I'm the controversy. Did I avenge a sin or commit one? The purple heart weighs heavier now, but in the quiet, I hear the rivers roar. No one's clean. And that's the real revenge. The courtroom in Carson City smelled like polished oak and old grudges, the kind that fester in small-town veins. I sat ramrod straight in the defendant's box, fatigue swapped for an ill-fitting blazer Mom dug from Dad's closet, still reeking faintly of his brute cologne and regret. The judge, a grizzled fossil with jowls like a basset hound, peered over bifocals as the prosecutor, a slick weasel named Hargrove, painted me as Lady Macbeth in desert camo. Miss Harlan, he drawled, voice dripping southern-fried sarcasm despite his Jersey roots. You torched your father's vehicle. You infiltrated a criminal enterprise. You shoved a man, your own blood, into certain death. Vigilante justice? Or cold-blooded patricide? The gallery murmured, a mix of rubberneckers from Reno's trailer parks and Vegas vultures sniffing scandal. CNN had dubbed it Hoover's Reckoning, plastering my mug, hard-eyed, scarred jaw, from every embed in Fallujah across Fox to MSNBC. Pundits picked sides like it was the Super Bowl. Liberals hailed me as a PTSD poster child striking back at patriarchal poison. Conservatives decried me as the decay of family values, a soldier gone rogue on woke absolution.
Me?
I stared at the scuff marks on the linoleum, tracing Dad's blood spatter from the Polaroid in my mind. Patricide? Maybe. But the guard's widow testified via video link from Ely, tear-streaked, clutching a faded obit. If Tommy Harlan pulled that trigger, God rest him, but his girl's hands are clean. Let her heal.
Clean.
The word mocked me as Hargrove flashed exhibits. The Airstream's charcoaled husk, Silk's barge schematics annotated with my entry point, Hale's autopsy report, 39mm to the torso, defensive wounds consistent with chaos. No mention of the Fed's own wiretap logs, where he'd coached Dad. Embellish the daughter's role, Tommy. Makes your flip gold.
Bastards.
The Feds cut me loose pre-trial, hero's exemption for neutralizing threats, but the civil suit from Silk's crew lingered like a hangover, alleging wrongful death.
Dad's death.
As if he hadn't authored it himself. My lawyer, a pro bono firebrand from the VFW named Lena Torres, tough as boot leather, with tattoos peeking from her cuffs, crossed her arms and fired back. Objection, Your Honor. Ms. Harlan served 2 tours, earned a Silver Star for dragging her CO from a burning Bradley. She returned to a father's abandonment, only to uncover a lifetime of deception. That push into the spillway? Self-preservation amid a firefight she didn't start. The judge grunted, sustaining, but the damage stuck, eyes boring into me like I was the villain in some Lifetime movie. Recess hit like a mercy round, Mom shuffling in with styrofoam coffee and a bear hug that smelled of menthols and microwave dinners. "Proud of you, baby," she whispered, voice frayed as old denim. "Tommy. He was broken long before Ely.
But you?
You're the light he chased."
Light.
I'd extinguished his last spark, watched the raft spin into froth, his pleas. "Cora, wait." Drowned by the dam's indifferent growl. Did I sleep after? Hell no. Nightmares looped. Me at 14, giggling over the hot-wired van's dash, the guard's phantom face, bullet-holed and accusatory, Silk's blade glinting as he lunged not at me, but to silence the truth.
Truth.
That's what unraveled me in lockup, those first fluorescent-lit weeks. Feds grilled me under protective debrief. Agent Ruiz, a stone-faced Latina with eyes like polished flint, sliding folders across the table. "Your pop wasn't just a grifter, Cora 98 heist? Tip of the iceberg. He laundered for the Sinaloa runners through Tahoe boats, used your name on Shell Corps to dodge IRS heat. Enlistment cleared the slate, but he panicked when Silk resurfaced. Old partner turned rival, sniffing pension checks." "Pension?
Mine."
The Purple Heart came with back pay, a nest egg-eyed earmarked for Mom's hip replacement. Dad knew. Hell, he'd invested half in a crypto scam before vanishing. Betrayal's layers peeled like onion skin, each stinging worse. "Why me?" I'd rasped, throat raw from screams in the spillway echo.
Ruiz Chirag.
Leverage. You were his get-out-of-hell-free card. Testify, bury your complicity, and he walks with immunity. But Silk moved first, kidnapped him to flip the script. Kidnapped. The word soured everything. Dad's bruises? Not Fed rough up, but Silk's hospitality. His business trip? A desperate bid to broker peace, ditching my homecoming to buy time. Guilt gnawed, but rage armored it. He'd still lied, still gambled my soul on his dice roll. Back in court, the twist dropped like a grenade. Hargrove called Silk to the stand, manacled, silk shirt swapped for orange jumpsuit, but that grin intact. "Cora Harlan," he testified, voice oily as the river. "She's a chip off Tommy's block. Knew about Ely since she was knee-high. That van? Her idea. Kid wanted adventure. When Tommy flipped, she came gunning for me, not him. Pushed Pop to tie off loose ends."
Lies. Pure venom.
But the gallery bought it, gasps rippling like wind through cottonwoods. Lena objected furiously, but the seed planted. Maybe I was the schemer, avenging nothing but my own buried sins. Mom buried her face in her hands. Across the aisle, the guard's widow shook her head, pity in her eyes. Split sides, just like the pundits predicted. No heroes, only shades of gray churning in the courtroom's stale air. I took the stand after lunch, the Bible cold under my palm, flashbulbs popping like IEDs. "I serve my country," I said, voice steady as a sniper's breath. Stitched wounds while my father's ghosts whispered in the wind. He skipped my homecoming, not to run, but to die for his debts. I didn't push him. I set him free.
Free.
From the noose of his lies, the cage of our blood bond. The jury foreman later confessed over beers at the VFW. "We believed you, Cora. But freedom? That's a controversial grace." Verdict, not guilty. Civil suit dismissed. Silk's word deemed self-serving fabrication. But victory tasted like ash. Walking out into Nevada's brassy sun, reporters swarming like locusts. Cora, was it justice or murder? I shielded Mom's arm, her frailty a reminder of the real casualties. Reno welcomed me fractured. Old squad mates buying rounds with wary toasts, neighbors whispering, "Daddy killer," behind picket fences. I moved us to a subsidized apartment off the Truckee River, took the VA gig stitching fractures, physical and otherwise. Nights, though, the river called. I'd sit on the bank, skipping stones into the current, imagining Dad's raft bobbing eternal. Happy ending? Tragic? Depends on the lens. Silk rots, spilling beans that toppled a cartel lieutenant last month. My anonymous tip via Ruiz. Mom smiles more, hip fixed on my pension scraps.
Me?
I'm writing the book, chapters dripping controversy. Did I avenge the guard or euthanize a monster? Readers debate in Amazon reviews. 5 stars for raw patriotism, 1 for sociopathic twist. The panic calls stopped, but their echo lingers. Last week, a letter arrived, postmarked Ely, no return. Inside, a single river stone, smoothed by spillway fury, and a note in the widow's script. For the debts we all carry. Forgive yourself, Cora. The river does. Forgiveness. Controversial as hell. But in America's fractured mirror, it's the only revenge that sticks. The VA clinic in Sparks buzzed with the low hum of healing wounds, beeps from monitors, the hiss of oxygen tanks, vets trading war stories in hushed tones like contraband smokes. I threaded sutures through a young grunt's thigh gash, fresh from Afghanistan's sandbox, his eyes distant as mine had been post-Iraq. Heard about you, Doc, he muttered, wincing. The damn girl. Badass or bats hit. I tied off the knot, snipped clean. Pick your poison, kid. World short on saints. He chuckled, but it died quick, ghost of recognition. We were all damn girls in our heads, pushing phantoms into the current to sleep sound. Post-trial life was a tightrope over the truckee. Steady pay, Mom's laughter thawing the apartment's chill, but shadows clung like desert dust. Protests popped up, VFW rallies chanting, "Hero home," countered by Bible thumpers picketing with signs, "Thou shalt not kill thy father," Exodus 20 verse 13. Media whiplash kept the pot stirred, a Vice docuseries framing me as America's anti-hero, interviewing Silk and Supermax. She had the devil's aim, that one, then cutting to me stitching under clinic fluorescence. Ratings gold, they said. For me, just more hooks in the gut. I'd started running again. Dawn patrols along the river trail, pounding pavement till lungs burned like Fallujah nights. Cleared the cobwebs, sharpened the edges. That's where Ruiz found me one crisp October morning, leaning on her unmarked Crown Vic, shades hiding Fed fatigue. "Harlan, walk with me." Not a request. We paced the path, cottonwoods shedding gold leaves like spent casings. "Silk's talking," she said, voice flat as the sage flats. "Your name came up not good. Says you knew about the 98 payroll since boot camp. Had a side hustle fencing army gear to his runners." Bullshit. My fists balled, gravel crunching under boots. He's flipping scripts again. Testify, I'll bury him deeper. She halted, river gurgling indictment.
Can't.
He's got proof. Texts from a burner, traced to your Reno IP. 98 Ben plates, registered in your juvenile file. And Cora. The guard? Ballistics match a service pistol. Army issue. Your CO's old sidearm. Lost in Mosul inventory. The world tilted, leaves blurring into tracers. My Beretta. Dad's gift before enlistment, engraved for my spark plug. He'd slipped it in my duffel, just in case. Ely 98. The road trip detour to a pawn shop, me oblivious while he upgraded. Had he?
Or no.
Ruiz, that's controversial, she finished, handing me a dossier, yellowed reports, my prints on the pistol grip from a post-Ely safety check. Feds buried it for your service record. But Silk's digging. If he walks on a technical entrapment, say you're the fall guy. Fall guy. Again. 4 Dad's sins, now exhumed. I laughed, bitter as battery acid. Round 2, then. Where's he lawyered up? High roller firm out of Tahoe. But Cora, don't. You're cleanish. Let the system chew.
System.
The same that let Dad skate, hail die, me testify to half-truths. I nodded, but my mind revved. Revenge wasn't done. It evolved. That night, Mom caught me packing the go bag, Beretta oiled, K-bar sheathed, cash roll from the pension. "Baby, no," she pleaded, doorway silhouette frail against hall light. "Tommy's gone. You're free." Free? I zipped the duffel, ghosts whispering. He chained us, Ma. Silk's the key or the noose. She hugged me fierce, tears hot on my neck, but didn't fight. Mothers of soldiers know the drill. You let him go. Pray to whatever God's listening. Tahoe's south shore glittered like fool's gold under a hunter's moon, casino towers piercing pines like accusatory fingers. Silk's lawyers holed in a lakeside McMansion, gated, guarded, but locks bow to old habits. I slipped the perimeter at 2 a.m., shadow through manicured hedges, disabling the nanny cam with a slingshot pebble. Inside, walnut panels, crystal decanters, the faint tang of Cuban cigars. The lead counsel, a silver fox named Vanderbilt, Harvard polish over Vegas sleaze, dozed in his leather throne, brief splayed. Harlan v. USG, entrapment motion. I nudged him awake with the Beretta's muzzle, cool on temple. Talk. He blinked, composure cracking like thin ice. Ms. Harlan, this is controversial, I supplied, sliding into the opposite chair. Silk's play. What's the angle? Sweat beaded his brow, but greed greased his tongue. Technicality. The 98 evidence chain's tainted, your prints, acquired, post facto by feds pressuring Tommy. Suppress it, and Silk walks on reduced counts. Cartel ties? Plea to jaywalking. My finger itched the trigger. And me. Collateral. Perjury rap if you perjured on the stand. But hey, witness tampering now. That's life without leverage. Always leverage. I holstered, mind-worrying contingencies. Drop it. Or I drop you, your firm's donor list to the DOJ by dawn. He laughed, nervous champagne bubbles. Bluff. You're the hero, not the hitman.
Hero.
The word soured. I left him trussed with his own Hermes tie, dossier torched in the fireplace, smoke curling like Dad's last exhale. Dawn found me lakeside, skipping stones into Tahoe's sapphire depths, the Beretta heavy in my pack. Cleanish? Bullshit. But the motion died in chambers, Vanderbilt's illness, anonymous leak to the Review Journal painting him as Silk's puppet. Silk raged in print. Harlan's mafia. Feds in her pocket. Pundits flipped. Now I was deep state darling, suppressing justice for war crimes. Protests swelled. Vets in Desert Storm gear clashing with true crime podcasters in tinfoil hats. Mom called from Reno. Cora, come home. The river's rising. Rising. Flood stage on the Truckee. News choppers buzzing evacuations. I drove through, roads slick as Betrayal, arriving to sandbags and soggy regrets. The apartment held, but the river lapped at our stoop, carrying debris like indictments, torn headlines, a child's lost boot. That's when the call came. Ruiz. Voice-edged panic. Silk's Lusa, transport van, accident, oni 80. Headed your way.
For you. Loose.
The twist no one saw. Vanderbilt's firm, cornered, cut a deal. Silk's escape for the real dossier. The one pinning the guard's shot on Dad's pistol. My prince be damned. He was coming to finish the flip, make me the monster on the stand. I boarded the windows. Beretta chambered. Mom in the back with her rosary. Rain lashed like accusations. Thunder cracking like Uzis. Headlights pierced the deluge at midnight. A black Escalade, fishtailing to a halt. Silk emerged, trenchcoat flapping, .45 glinting wet. Cora. Time to sing, spark plug. The door bucked under his shoulder, once, twice, then splintered. I fired low, grazing thigh, but he barreled in, Mom shrieking as he backhanded her to the floor. The pistol, he roared. You shot the guard. Tommy's lie to protect his baby girl.
No. Or.
Ely's fog. The van's chaos, Dad yelling drive. A scuffle in the cab, me grabbing the dash gun, firing wild into the night. Memory fractured. PTSD's cruel joke. Lies. I screamed, tackling him. K-bar flashing to his throat. He froze, rain pooling at our feet. Ask your ma. She cleaned the blood from your hands that night. Adventure over. Mom stirred, eyes haunted.
Cora.
It was dark. You thought it was a flare. Tommy said forget. The room spun, river roaring symphony. Silk's eyes gleamed, truth or trap. I pressed the blade, skin parting pearl. Choose, motherfucker. Walk, or we both drown in this. Sirens wailed. Ruiz's cavalry. Silk dropped the .45, hands up. You win, damn girl. But the devil's in the details. Cuffed and dragged, he laughed into the storm.
Me?
I held Mom, the flood receding with dawn, but the twist lingered. My bullet? Dad's cover? Controversy's gift. Eternal debate. Winter clamped Reno like a vice, snow dusting the Sierras white as absolution, but the chill in my bones was pure Ely 98. Gunshot echo. Blood warm on my palms. The raid on silk-netted headlines. War vet foils cartel kingpin again. Pundits exhausted their thesaurus. Redemptive, reckless, revolutionary. I ignored the noise, burying myself in VA shifts, stitching gashes while vets spilled guts about ghosts. You get it, Doc, one murmured, fresh ink from Walter Reed. Killing your own kin? That's the war that don't end.
Kin.
The word festered. Mom's confession, whispered post-raid, rosary beads clicking like spent rounds, rewrote the script. You were 14, baby. Pop handed you the gun for protection. The guard lunged, shadows, panic you squeezed. He swore it'd vanish, forged the patsy's prints. I washed your hands, lied to myself, it was a nightmare. Her eyes, milky with cataracts and contrition, begged forgiveness I couldn't grant. Not yet. Was it murder?
Accident?
The river knew, but it kept churning secrets. Silk's trial hit Vegas federal court like a monsoon. Cameras flashing, spectators spilling into hallways, me subpoenaed as key witness. Security whisked me through back doors, metal detectors beeping my Beretta's ghost. In the box, Silk leered from the defense table. Orange jumpsuit, his new silk. His lawyer, fresh meat, Yale polish, grilled me. Ms. Harlan, you admit complicity in the 98 heist? Prints on the murder weapon. Objection. Lena thundered from the gallery, now my shadow counsel. Sustained, but the poison seeped. Prosecutors painted Silk as the spider, me the fly who snapped the web. This woman's actions, torching vehicles, infiltrating barges, confronting fugitives, saved lives, exposed a syndicate. Jurors nodded, blue-collar folks from Henderson, eyes hungry for heroes in America's underbelly. But the twist came mid-recess. Ruiz cornered me in the John, dossier in hand. Silk's Hail Mary. He's got a tape, Dad's voice pre-dam confessing to you. Cora, the guard was me. You fired blanks that night. I swapped the slug post-chaos. My knees buckled, towel cold. Blanks? Dad's final con to absolve me, even in death? Ruiz's face softened, rare crack in the armor. He loved you, kid. Buried the real gun. Pinned it on himself. Silk found the original, service .45, no prints. Clean.
Clean.
The dam broke inside, sobs racking, years of guilt sluicing out. I'd pushed an innocent man? No. Dad's martyr play, controversial to the core. Suicide by daughter, shielding his spark plug from the abyss. I testified raw. Tommy Harlan was a liar, a thief, a father who skipped homecomings for hustles. But he died for me.
Silk?
He's the void that ate our family. Verdict, life, no parole. Silk's scream echoed down the halls. Harlan witch. But the gavel fell final. Outside, snow flurried, reporters mobbing. Cora, redemption or revenge? I shouldered through, Mom waiting in the rental. Thermos steaming. Home, Ma. Rivers frozen. Time to thaw. Spring thawed Reno slow, truckies swelling with melt, carrying last winter's debris. I proposed to Lena over ribs at the Pig and Pint, ring from a pond, Purple Heart duplicate, controversial commitment. She laughed, yes, tumbling out. Wedding was small. VFW hall, vets toasting to dams and daughters, Mom dancing slow with Ruiz as surrogate dad. But controversy clung. Book deal offers flooded. Damned blood. A soldier's reckoning. ghostwritten by a podcaster who turned it into a Netflix pitch. Debates raged, forums splitting on dad. Flawed patriot or fatal fraud?
Me?
Vigilante virtue or veiled villainy? I signed, proceeds to the guard's widow's scholarship. Ely kids learning locks, not lies. Summer brought the pilgrimage. Boulder City, dam tour packed with gawkers. I lingered at the overlook, wind whipping, tracing the spillway scar. A stone skipped from my palm, plunking into blue. Forgive, the widow's note echoed. I did, for Dad, the guard, even silk smooth sins. Not easy, not clean, America's way, messy, mired in might have beens. Panic calls? Silent now. But at dusk, by the river, I hear them, whispers of what-ifs, hooks of the heart. Revenge? It drowned that night. What rose? A woman, scarred but standing, debating her own damn self in the mirror. Happy? Tragic? You tell me. The current decides.